Can you guys maybe share with us either a personal or professional or somewhere in between an example of a failure that led to a success or a success that led to a failure?
That one first. Go ahead, please.
So I had a learning experience earlier this year when I first started off with, I feel like I need to lean down here.
You can pick it up if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good
Pull,
idea.
pull it out. There you go.
Okay, that's good. Earlier this year, when I set off to start this app that I founded, right, Bytes, in Metro Phoenix, I started working with a developer, an app developer. So I prototyped the app myself, did the front end user experience, and I handed it to her, so to speak, with her team to build it out, code it on the back end. And I spent about 6 months with this individual, and I would keep getting updates. Like, how's it going, right? Where are we at? And good, it's going good. Came time, a month before this was supposed to release, this app was supposed to release June 1st. It did not release June 1st. So I was like, okay, July 1st, we'll push it to July 1st. It didn't release July 1st. And then at the end, this individual told me, actually, yeah, we don't have anything. And so I had spent 6 months getting statuses, right, for a product that didn't exist. And so then I thought, okay, that's a learning experience. You learn not to, even someone who is presenting themselves as a professional, not to take them on their word, and even when you're getting statuses, doesn't mean it's a real status, sort of a made-up status. And so the learning experience for me then was, I need to be more like hands-on, engaged myself, have weekly meetings and all that stuff. So I pivoted, right, and went and checked out a whole bunch of other app developers, and then went with one, and now I have weekly meetings, and our app came out September 18th in Metro Phoenix. It went live. We're doing all these additional cool things to it. So the learning experience was really not to take anyone's word for anything, even when they are a professional.
I've got an app that can help with that.
She does, actually.
Actually, I do. I literally do. I make sure your sprints are done properly. I'll take it since we're in software world. So one of the things that I pride myself on is, I think you guys can hear me. I don't need this. One of the things I pride myself on is putting teams together. I put teams together, and I've been talking about it, how to put a culture together around these teams, how to motivate them, how to keep them going, how to make sure that when you're getting your status updates that they are giving you the information that they are supposed to be giving you so that everyone is collaborative and moving forward. And, with 12 years of, history, putting successful teams together, creating products, and being that success, that relative successful person in this field, about May timeframe this year, that blew up in my face. I had this amazing team, so much so we were growing so fast with employees, we didn't even have time to interview. I had to expand my space. We were running out of physical space. We purchased more space, put more stuff into it for these people. Everything was going perfect. I'm in conversations with big, huge companies potentially wanting to talk about our product, right? Which means something good could come of it. And at that moment, I had one key employee come to me and say they're leaving. I'm like, this one employee was the last person I thought would leave. Last person. Because I keep a really good pulse. I make sure I know where everyone is at. I'm involved in every way, shape, and form without micromanaging, by the way. I try to be involved. This was the last thing I thought would happen. So that set me into what is going on in my company. You've all heard the analogy of, you have one bad apple, right? It just takes one bad and it will destroy the rest of the batch. I had not personally experienced this large of a rotting apple before. Just hadn't done it. So it's really hard to miss. You can't smell it, you can't see it. And it's that apple that's starting to rot from the core. This was a 6-figure income employee who was responsible for my entire product, and I was losing this person. Once I started assessing the situation, it got bigger. We call it the mass exit. This is the terminology we have. We call it the mass exit of our company. Within 3 days, by the way, when you find a cancer cell or an apple, whether they're a Q-star player or not, you gotta act quick, you gotta radiate the heck out of it and make sure you fix it, right? Within 3 days, I ended up firing, asking to leave, pushing to go 7 employees. That's huge, and they were all developers, which is the core of my business. No developers, no development, no tool, no money. 7 key developers, one of which was the one I knew about, and then I started talking to every single employee, and I realized it's starting to permeate other places in the company. The development team didn't trust the marketing team had no faith in the sales team, and it was that moment of, how long has this been going on? And I'm still giddy, right? I'm like, woohoo, life is so good. That was a true wake-up call. I deviated from the question. I got lost in my own misery.
How did you turn it back into
Very
success?
excited about it.
Thank you. I'm reliving it for you. 7 were gone, kind of. I was like, give me that fan. I need some of that fan. I'm like, whew, I'm back.
Do we have a psychologist here?
Anyone? Can anyone give me anything?
Tornado now.
Right? So we got rid of the 7, but it was extremely fast. Within 3 days, got rid of the ones that were having problems with. Anyone who I smelled anything, even though it was painful, right? Because that decision of, do you fire this person who's knowledgeable, important, maybe irreplaceable, but no one's irreplaceable, right? I did. We eliminated 7 employees. Fast forward, we are where we are today. We've replaced some of those employees. For some, we're still struggling. We're literally without still. And as a culture, as a company, we are so much better and healthier. We're happier, we're healthier, we're more successful as a byproduct of what had happened. And that's a combination of everything you've asked earlier, your failures, your successes. And it's that moment where you think, where did I go wrong? And we don't do Six Sigma, we're software, we're agile like this. We don't have flow charts. And you go, do I need to flow chart myself through this thing or not? Thankfully, we have some new processes in place and we have some new pulse points, but now I'm rambling.
But did that first person leave
I fired that first person.
within 3
The rest of them left. The rest of them were pushed out. We ended up asking them, I'll let you know exactly what we did. I went to every single person, had a one-on-one with them, and anyone who had any kind of, I don't know what's going on, I offered them 3 months severance pay and a bonus to leave. And it was open. Then I literally cried in front of my entire company, literally tears. An adult person cried, and I said, anyone else who has any doubt, right now I'm giving you money to leave. And I had 2 people leave there. Literally, at that meeting, when I cried, they left. So it was awesome. It was a great feeling.
3 months severance. Are you hiring now?
I
All right, I guess it's my turn.
If you like, yeah.
We had many. And we had one of those issues, colliding with your own business partners, asking and buying a few of them out. Even with the one left, we had issues, but we worked it out. One of the biggest things that I found is a lot of the issues that we come about is interpersonal. A lot of times things is brewing inside your mind and it's not even real. So what you like to hear is not what's being said, and you are not really present because you're just sitting there listening to what you like to hear, and you think the person said that, but you didn't. They didn't. And so I found that a lot of times amongst this kind of issues inside the company, it's you got to be able to go back, listen, reiterate, and then come back and change the way you ask the questions and such. You will find many times the problems just kind of vanish, go away. One other failure that I had that was pretty big, and the reason I went to the aesthetic school was because of that, is that I was doing a lot of training. Everything we make is both software and hardware. And so we have seriously one of the best devices in the market today. And when I was training everyone, I was like, why is everybody looking at me with a deer head like, like they don't, it's just like, what is she talking about? I thought, I was an engineer all my life, so I was still, and I was always a problem solver. Everyone called me an A-teamer, that's what my group called. So I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? So how come these people don't get it? I'm explaining it the best way, how come they don't understand it? And so I came back and I'm like, there's something I'm missing. Either I don't understand the body, or I don't understand the system, or whatever I put together doesn't work. Ask many people, a few people that I totally trust, including my husband. The poor thing has been gone through hell. He probably can do a few treatments right now by now, and put the device together as well. But even my daughter, the one that's sitting there, a few times I come to her and she's like, Mom, don't you get it? That's what they mean. I'm like, oh my God. So what I'm trying to say is that I realize that I don't understand my clientele. I don't know their pains, I don't know their level of education. And that's why I went to school, and believe it or not, was a really harsh awakening, because I realized they get to read this book that is about 500 pages, 20 chapters, talks about everything under the sun that somebody would do on your face. And believe me, if you ever go get a treatment now, spa is a big thing today, and everybody wants to get a treatment, like a facial, right? If the person has less than 15 to 20 years of experience, don't go to them. Trust me, they don't know what the heck they're doing. So that's what I've learned. I've learned that I came home and I said, if any of you, which is all of you, are Persian, and any of you know that this Persian word, sefida.
I know that one.
Right.
I just came
So-
home, we don't know about that.
So I said to Marlene, when I came home, I said, honey, I just got the license to do sefida on people's faces. And he's like, after a year, every single night, we haven't seen you for 9 months. Now, I'm like, seriously, that's all I know, because I can't. Don't ask me. So I had to come back and redo all of my training manuals. I had to hire a teacher that has been in this business for 40 years in aesthetic business, and have her read mine and rewrite it, because the way an aesthetician understands is totally different than an engineer. So it was just, that was my biggest failure, and that's how we